All right, hey, it's time for Big Game Breakdown in NFL Week 14. If you don't know who we are Statletics. We love to break down the big games, dabble in a little bit of sports betting. We have our own projections who are killing it, by the way. They're hitting at a 60% rate against the spread if you're into that kind of thing. But nonetheless, we love football. We love walking through the big games, talking about who's going to win what, and seeing where we can land throughout the week. So let's get into it, dive in head first with the game of the week, a playoff game, in essence, fighting for the NFC top spot. The Eagles go to Dallas to play the Cowboys. The Cowboys are tearing it up. They have the highest pass rate over expectation. Dak is playing better than any single quarterback in the league. I will argue head to head with anybody on that. He's absolutely shredding secondaries right now, putting on clinics left and right. Cowboys are 3.5-point home favorites. Vegas expects the Cowboys to win this game. The point total is the highest point total of the week, sitting at 52.5, 53 on some sports books. But Eagles, man, they just got killed by the 49ers in an embarrassing fashion at home, nonetheless. So morale is low for the Eagles. They're coming off a really tough loss, their second loss of the season. Jalen Hurts actually left the game briefly to get checked for a concussion. He came back in, so I expect him to be fine and ready for this game. Dallas coming off of a really fun win against the Seahawks. Seahawks actually did better than I expected, but nonetheless, Cowboys offense prevailed in a game that was really high scoring. As expected, that game was fun. Now, again, we mentioned this, and earlier we talked about it in our playoff discussion. This decides the top overall team in the NFC East. You know, barring an absolute burnout by one of these teams down the home stretch of the regular season. So, with this, the winner of this clinches the playoff spot at the top seed and potentially puts themselves in a position to hold on to the number one overall seed in the NFC, pending what the 49ers do rest of season. So much on the line. I am so excited for this game. This is one I'm even looking forward to this more than I am Chiefs versus the Bills. Man, it's going to be a good one. Before I get into the numbers and the splits and all of that, Brendan, snap reaction. Let me know what you think and who you think's taking this one home.
Yeah, you just really can't argue a team is playing better right now than the Cowboys. And I mean, passing, their offense is just looking beautiful. It's without Kellen Moore. It's not what we thought. It's not what I thought. But I mean, they're just, like you said, Dak is shredding teams. And I think the Cowboys are going to score 30 plus points in this game. And the Eagles aren't going to be able to keep up with them. I think Dallas covers, is it 3.5?
3.5.
3.5.
You called it at 3 on some books, but it jumped up to 3.5 a little bit too late for everybody to get on board.
Hey, it's in Jerry World. You know, Brendan Cooks is having a late career resurgence. Dak is getting the ball to him. CeeDee Lamb's unguardable. The running game's been a little bit better. Their defense is playing very well. I just don't think the Eagles are going to be able to come back for. Also, the schedule's just catching up to the Eagles right now. I mean, they have the hardest schedule, and it's really catching up to them, and they still have games to look forward to that they might not be completely focused on the current week. And I just don't think they're going to have it. Jalen Hurts is banged up in a lot of different ways. He's just taking a lot of hits. Like, if he were to go out, they got no shot.
And so, when this line came out, and when I was looking at, you know, what Vegas put out, the spreads and all of that, writing up the notes, I expected this line to be kind of juiced up in favor of the Cowboys just due to the way that the Eagles lost last week. But to my splendor, I found out that it was pretty fairly priced. You know, I expected Dallas by a field goal, you know, give or take. I actually expected this to be Dallas like 5.5 just after last week and what happened to the Eagles. But thankfully, they didn't do that. And I normally don't lead with my projections for the games, but I'm going to lead with it here because it came out with a resounding projection for this game. It had Dallas Cowboys scoring 30 plus, 32 to be specific, but it has them handily beating the Eagles.
I'm going to guess 9. Does it have 9?
10.
Oh, dang.
10. And now I don't necessarily buy into that fully.
I kind of do.
And I will say my projections, over half of them align with Vegas. They do. So, but some of them have large discrepancies, and some teams always skew the data. Specifically, the Colts. The model, the model has a Colts problem. So just everybody, if you watch, you know that the model has a Colts problem. But nonetheless, it has the Cowboys absolutely routing the Eagles, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by that at all. I actually am on the Cowboys this week to win outright, and I think even they cover, especially at home. And I think that's what's baked into the projection is it does account for momentum and home field advantage, and that's just really what it's getting right now. Is Dallas Cowboys? There's no team that has more momentum than the Dallas Cowboys, and there's no better team that's playing at home better than the Dallas Cowboys right now. I mean, they are beating teams by an average of 20 plus points at home. That's insane. So
is it 17 games straight at home they've won?
It's something like that. I don't know the home road split, but playing at home makes a huge difference for the Dallas Cowboys, and I think we've seen that this year in the way that they've beaten teams. If you look at some of the numbers, it's going to be a fun offensive game, and you can see why it's totaled so high. Offensive EPA per play, Dallas is 4th in the league, Philly 5th in the league. Now, the Eagles have kind of come to a screeching halt as of late on the offensive side of the ball. If you look at like total yards per game, they've dropped all the way down to 8th, where they were previously a top 5 team. But nonetheless, they're still top 10 in most of the offensive metrics that you look at. Except they really have kind of come to a stalemate when running the football. At the beginning of the year, we saw him running with extreme efficiency behind the legs of DeAndre Swift, but that's not been the case at all, actually. Right now, they're 21st in the league in yards per carry. Not good efficiency from the Eagles team, who expects to run the ball again behind their stout offensive line. Now, the Cowboys don't really run the ball at all. That's what's funny. They have one of the lowest rushing rate in the league. In fact, they actually lead the NFL in passing rate over expectation. So for those of you who don't know that play, it's accounted in for a play rate where you pass the ball in neutral situations. So, but the real discrepancy that we see is in the defense. Dallas Cowboys are 3rd in the league in offensive EPA per play allowed. The Eagles have dropped all the way to 28th in the league. They are letting teams thrash them on the defensive side of the ball, which is unusual for the Eagles. At least the Eagles that we've known the past couple of years, they've always been known for a good defense. They certainly have the roster, but something's going on. They're not able to stop teams. So I think the Cowboys can do it. If we look at it too, the public certainly thinks so. 84% of the bets are on the Cowboys. 96% of the money is on the Cowboys. I'm not worried about that number. I'm not worried about it at all. Do you think, does your mind change about anything, or do you still lean heavy on the Cowboys?
The Eagles can't stop the pass. Dallas passes at an absurd rate, like you were saying, and they're really efficient with it. Also, I'll put this kind of into perspective. Like last year, the Eagles went on the attack early and got up really big on teams. And we're getting to the point now where, in this game specifically, the Eagles, instead of being real aggressive and going for it, they're more on defense mode because they have that number 1 seed. They have to defend what's theirs. Dallas on the other end is well, we don't have anything to lose, so let's go. Let's freaking attack them. And I mean, Dak over 400 yards, what do you have to say to that? I mean, they can't stop the pass.
They can't.
I agree with Scarlett on 10.
No, I'm glad you agree with Scarlett, because Scarlett's been good to us lately, man. She's been good to us. Okay, so unanimous decision here on the pod by Cowboys and Scarlett. The Eagles are really going to have to come out and play lights out to stymie this Dallas Cowboys team. So it should be a fun one. I expect nothing less out of a NFC East matchup to this degree. So before we move on, guys, we appreciate you watching. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe. And of course, comment your favorite picks of the week. Drop what you have cooked up on the sports books. Drop any player props you like, or just drop who you like to win outright. Give us some upset picks. Give us some sleeper picks or some teams that you really like to win outright this season. So let us know who you got. We love that information. And again, just like, subscribe. We appreciate that very well. We hope you enjoy. Moving on to the AFC, Bills versus Chiefs. Bills are sitting at 500 right now, 6-6. They desperately need a win to get themselves thrusted back into playoff contention right now. The Chiefs are really just kind of sputtering out on offense. They've shown no signs of explosiveness. They've shown no signs to stretch the field with any of their receivers. And their defense is really the only thing holding this team together right now. They're 8-4. They're one game behind the number one seed in the AFC, which is currently the Dolphins. This game is, again, another playoff game in its own essence, because the Bills, this is do or die. This is win or go home, straight up. There's no other way to put it for the Bills. They have to win this to be able to put themselves into a position to win out and make it to a wild card. And for the Chiefs, they're certainly fine in terms of playoff discussion, but they would like to get that number one seed. And so they're going to have to really get it together. The Chiefs are 2.5 point home favorites against the Bills. The point total is sitting around 47.5. Looking at the betting splits too, 73% of the public is on Bills plus 2.5. 70% of the money is on Bills plus 2.5. So initial reaction, public likes the Bills, but there's certainly a lot that we can dig into this game. Snap reaction to this line, Brendan. Let me know what you think is going to happen.
I have way more than a snap reaction. I've got a specific scenario, which I enjoy saying, because if it's ever right, then I look like a genius. If it's wrong, no one remembers. Specific scenario. Pretty good game, right? I don't know who's winning in regulation, but all I know is that someone's going to come back, kick a time field goal or a touchdown in the last 12 seconds to push it to overtime. And like history has told us before, the Chiefs get the ball first and the Chiefs win and they cover the 2.5. I think the Chiefs defense is way superior to the Bills. I think the Chiefs are probably going to be able to run the ball a good bit with Pacheco. And even though they aren't real explosive, like you say, they're going to be able to manage the game. It's going to go to overtime. Chiefs going to get the ball first and the game's over. And Diggs' heart will be broken again. Josh Allen will throw an interception, at least one. It's I see the future. So that's what I have.
There you go. You heard it now first. He sees the future. Okay. Now, I'm going to just give the projections again. I'm changing it up today. I guess I'm just giving the projections out first. I like saving them for last, but too much going on for me not to share off the rip. The projection, the model has this as a near dead pick even. In fact, the difference between the score projection is 0.019. So they have it
Nice.
right on the nose. Point total right at 46.8. So 47.5 is the current point total. So it really thinks the same that Vegas does pretty much, other than the fact that I think it's a pick even. And I think Vegas is giving that 2.5 to the Chiefs just due to home field advantage. But with that being said, this game is a toss-up. There's no other way to put it. And a lot of people are going to sit here and try and say they know what to do, but if that's really not the case, we have to take this process and look at the most likely outcome. And so if we go and look at some of the numbers, both teams are really executing on the offensive side of the ball. It's just tough for them to put points up on the board. And maybe they're not executing in the sense that they're getting into the end zone, because Buffalo third in the league in offensive EPA per play, Kansas City sixth in offensive EPA per play, and that's one of the most telling metrics of offensive success. Buffalo sixth in total yards, Kansas City ninth in total yards per game, sixth in total passing yards per game, ninth in total passing yards per game. They're top 10 teams on the offensive side of the ball. There's, that's it. So I think we do see points being scored. But if we go over and look at the offensive EPA per play allowed, it's actually kind of surprising. Buffalo is 9th in the league in offensive EPA per play allowed. Kansas City 12th. Buffalo's defense is actually doing better than Kansas City's in terms of EPA. Now, Kansas City also does a bit more that, you don't really see. I mean, they're 5th in passing yards allowed per game, 5th in total yards, 4th in total yards per game allowed. So while teams can be efficient, they're still holding them. They're keeping them bottled up and making it hard to score. So, but to put that in perspective, Buffalo's defense, which has looked really badly, and it has been bad because they lost a ton of players in that London game against the Jaguars, specifically Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White. They both went out that game, and that's really been the crux of this Buffalo's offense, or this Buffalo's team, is the leakiness in the passing game. But coming off of a bye with Joe Brady as the offensive coordinator now, I think the Bills get it together, do or die situation. I think Josh Allen gets it done in Kansas City against this Chiefs team. I really like the Bills to win outright.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to agree to disagree. I mean, I'm not the numbers guy in this, but I'm just looking at what I've seen, and I've also seen the Chiefs just lost this last week, and they haven't lost 2 games in a row all season, as well as the last 6 games. They go win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win this week against the Bills.
All right, so you know what we do then? We put it on the board. It's a beer bet. All right. Okay, that'll be a fun one. So moving on, Seahawks go to the 49ers. And this is really just kind of a divisional game, one that we wanted to talk about because Seahawks are actually still fighting for, to stay or fighting for a playoff spot themselves. If you look at it, they're 6-7 right now, or 6-6, excuse me. But the Rams are also 6-6 in that division, and the Packers are 6-6, and the Vikings are 6-6 in the NFC umbrella. So if the Seahawks could pull off a miracle, this would actually thrust themselves up into one of the wild cards, in my personal opinion, just looking at some of the schedule of the other teams sitting at 6-6, especially the Rams, because the Rams go to the Ravens this week, and I don't think they can get it done. So, but nonetheless, this game, 49ers should win. They're favored by 10.5 in San Francisco. Point total sitting around 46.5. I just wanted to talk about this game due to the fact that it's a divisional matchup, and the Seahawks are kind of playing for their season. And then the 49ers are also playing for the 1 seed. So both teams desperately need a win. Probabilistically speaking, it's not likely really at all that the Seahawks win, but it's possible. We've seen crazier things happen when it comes to stuff like this. So before we get into some of the numbers or anything, Brendan, what's your snap reaction? Who wins and then who covers?
Yeah, number of sides, it's mano a mano. It's the best defensive line ever assembled ever. And I don't think the Seahawks offensive line is going to be able to contain that at all. And, Chase Young just got there, 2 weeks ago, and, he's still ramping it up, and they're just menacing. And, we've seen Seattle, I think it's twice this year, post under 100 yards in the first half, total offense. So I think the 49ers are going to roll here. I think the 49ers win. And I know it's really high, but I'm looking at 10.5. I hope it's 10 somewhere. But I think the 49ers will cover also. They're going for that 1 seed.
They are. So you have 49ers winning and covering. So, which makes sense. Right now, look, San Francisco is the most efficient offense in football. They're number 1 in overall EPA per play. And a lot of that is due to their superstars who can literally catch the ball and run. We saw that with Debo. All Brock Purdy had to do was literally just throw it across the middle or hand it off to Debo, and he was off to the races. No ifs, ands, or buts. Where the fallacy is the defense, offensive EPA per play allowed. Seattle 22nd in the league, San Francisco 4th. So There's no better or more well-rounded team in the NFL right now than the 49ers. You can make the argument that Dallas is there, but they're not. You can make the argument that
those are the teams.
2 weeks ago you could have made the argument that the Lions are, but they're not. We've seen that. They almost blew a sizable lead to the Saints. They lost to the Packers on Thanksgiving pretty handily. So, with that being said, and you could also make that about the Eagles, but look what they did to the Eagles in the Eagles' place. So, I will say I do think that a lot of people are going to. When I first had these notes, I thought that a lot of people would be on Seahawks because of recency bias, or 49ers because of recency bias. But in fact, I was wrong. 59% of the public is on the Seahawks plus 10.5. 84% of the handle of the total money is on Seahawks plus 10.5.
It's a high spread. So, I mean, it's a high spread.
It is a high spread. It is a high spread.
I don't doubt those people at all because it's a really high spread.
So I don't think I would ever personally take anything in this game. My projections actually have the spread as a 7.5 point spread. So they think that the Seahawks would theoretically cover if it holds if it holds true to 10.5. So just leaving that for everybody. The point total is right around where they would have it total at. It's 45.5 for my projections instead of 46.5, but I think it's a 7.5 point game. So keep note of that. But nonetheless, Seahawks need to win here to stay in contention. They need this, but the 49ers, honestly, they need this game as well to put themselves in the position to take over the first overall seed. And I just don't think they're slowing down after the way that they played last week. So we'll see. We'll see. You never know. You never know. Broncos go to the Chargers. Chargers are 3-point home favorites. Point total sitting around 43.5. Chargers coming off of an ugly win. Ugly win. When is the last time you can remember a team not scoring a touchdown but covering the spread?
Never.
They were 5.5 point favorites against the Patriots. They won 6-0 in Gillette Stadium. How egregiously bad is that?
No.
Pretty funny, right?
No.
Pretty funny. Anyway,
I don't have anything to say.
I digress. Broncos, they lost to the Texans last week. They're fighting for that wild card spot. And I want to say that, the Chargers are, but they're kind of, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them. But nonetheless, I put this in here in the column because Broncos, they need this. This is a do or die game for them as well. So going to the Chargers +3 road underdogs. They had a really, they were on a hot streak. They won like 6 games in a row or something like that. But it kind of came to a halt against the Texans, and they really need to get their crap together and win this one to stay in contention. And a lot of people think they can do it. 92% of the public is on the Broncos to cover +3. 94% of the money is on the Broncos to cover +3 against this Chargers team. You and I both know the potential that this Chargers team has. It's just Brandon Staley's really fumbled it, in my humble opinion. And I think that any other competent coach steps into that role and has extreme success on the field with the current roster that they have now, albeit I'll give him some, benefit of the doubt in the sense that a lot of their star offensive players have gotten hurt. Mike Williams, he went out. Josh Palmer, he went out. So granted, they're kind of thin at wide receiver, but they still have Keenan Allen. They have rookie Quentin Johnson, who sucks. He should
never play again.
I think he's in a mental warfare with himself, but feel bad for the guy. But the Chargers, they have the potential to beat a lot of teams. I don't want to say anybody, but a lot of teams. So this game, and Vegas priced that in too. Vegas thinks that this team is better than the Broncos, which I do too. But it's a matter of what is the coaching situation here? It's Sean Payton versus Brandon Staley, and I of course give it to Sean Payton here. I think he is 100% the better coach. I think Brandon Staley's out the door by the end of the year. But before I get into the numbers, projections, and all that, Brendan, what do you think? Let me know.
The first thing I'll say is you can't ignore the progression the Broncos have taken the whole year. Beginning of the year, I was like, this team isn't going to win a game. Then here we are, and they're in playoff contention, wildcard contention, and I think they're going to keep it rolling. And the only thing that I have to say about the Chargers is the injuries have killed them. You can't. I mean, Keenan's has a permanent AC shoulder sprain for the rest of his life, and I don't even know how old he is. What is he, freaking 33 or something like that? He's really old. He's their only guy that had the ball to throw to. Mike Williams is out. Josh Palmer's on IR. Quentin Johnson cannot do the one thing that he's paid to do, which is catch a football. He probably has more drops than catches this season. I'm sorry. And
That's bad.
And then Eckler has the ankle. I think he was clocked going 13 miles an hour a couple weeks ago or whatever, and people, whatever, can say on that. But me being a professional athlete myself and having a pretty gruesome ankle sprain and didn't go to therapy for it, I know that it's really hard to come back from an ankle sprain from a professional athlete standpoint. The only thing is Austin Eckler is getting tackled by 300-pound people, and I am not getting tackled at all, and I'm still struggling. So I just don't think they have it at all. I don't think they have any weapons. Herbert's still, he never was out, but he's still got a freaking permanent straight middle finger or whatever it is, and I just don't think they can do it anymore. It's so sad. I think the Broncos are going to win this game.
Okay. I think the Chargers can do it, man. I want them to be able to do it.
How? Can you give me some scenarios on how?
I know that's what I'm struggling with. But I just, so projections have Chargers winning by 4. So they're right around the Vegas spread, 1 point above the Vegas spread as it sits currently. I think their performance clearly tells a story. I think that they can do it. It's just I totally agree, man. They're running thin on the wide receiver at really every offensive position, it feels like. And their defense, which should be good, they did lose Joey Bosa, but Khalil Mack, Derwin James, those guys, they should be good, but they're not. They're, in fact, one of the worst defensive units in the entire league. Now, if we go and check out some of these numbers, let's look at offensive EPA per play allowed, 25th in the entire NFL, 25 out of 32 in offensive EPA per play. They are 32nd in the league in passing yards allowed, 31st in the league in total yards allowed. It's bad. It's not just bad, it's horrible.
Honestly, the only thing, because I'm an expert, the only thing that I can think to do is run some sort of level plays where you have Demario Davis running a really quick slant or over Keenan in the middle, and then Jalen Guyton deep route and throw it to him 10 times. There's nothing else you can do.
I think if I was the Chargers, I'd start really leaning heavy into 2 tight end sets, 100%.
I'm fine with that. It's just Quentin Johnson should never play. He's getting pushed off the ball and he can't catch the ball. I like Demario Davis better as a prospect than Johnson now.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating. I know we both love him and we both thought good things this year, but things happen. I still think the Broncos are going to take this one.
I think the Chargers can rally and do it. Let's do it. We'll add this beer bet. We need to make it interesting anyway. Okay. So, moving on.
We'll lather.
Lions go to the Bears. Lions, shaky win against the Saints. They start off really strong and then kind of gave it up. But I had this one as well because this is a divisional game. Bears really need this. I don't really think they're looking to be in the playoffs by any means, but the Lions need this, certainly, as they gear up for the playoffs themselves and look to hold on to that number 1 spot in their division with the Packers slowly inching ahead. Bears are +3 or +3.5 on books like FanDuel and BetMGM, depending on which book you look at, which is a key component of what I wanted to talk about today. Shocking line, is it not? A field goal spread for the Lions versus the Bears.
What do you think it should be?
Honest to goodness, I typically always think what my projections think. So if we go to the projections and find the Lions versus the Bears, it has it as Lions -2. Wow. Projections think that the Bears can hang.
I mean, let me hit you with something. I think they can hang because they're going to win. You're talking about a divisional.
Wow.
Hold on. You're talking about a divisional road dog. 3 whole points. The Bears coming off a bye. Roschon Johnson playing a little better. Fields coming off a bye. DJ Moore and Fields has been a really good connection all year. They got Jonathan Allen, right? From what's it called? From the Redskins.
Yeah, I'm still in shock.
Little extra push. The defense, if I
recall correctly. Sweat.
Oh, they got Sweat. Yes. The defense is looking a little bit better. And you've got Jared Goff going away. And you know how bad he is away compared to home. I've got the Bears winning this game.
Man, and I am shocked too. I did not think this to be the splits, but looking at them, the Bears, 79% of the public is on Bears +3.5, 92% of the handle, 92% of the money being placed on bets, the spread specifically, are on Bears +3.5.
Well, that's crazy in my opinion, but
that is insane.
That lines up with me, but that's still crazy.
That's insane. Insanity. Yeah. And I can't even believe that my projections have it being a 2-point game. That's kind of beyond me. That's wild. But good for the Bears, I guess. Their on-field metrics are kind of coming to fruition a little bit, all things speaking. And I think this also has to do with the poor play coming out of Detroit's defense. But offensive EPA per play, Chicago's 21st in the league, but that number's creeped up. They were at like 29th in the league the first 6 or 7 games of the season. I remember that doing those previews. Detroit's dropped down to 7th. Now here's where it gets fun. Let's go look at the defense. If my computer would stop freaking out. Offensive EPA per play allowed, Bears 21st, Lions 15th. So the Lions kind of middle of the road, certainly can execute on them on the defensive side. They have moments where their defense shows up and shows out. But I am shocked. I'm shocked actually by this. I'm surprised. This may be like 2 into the numbers, honestly. I'm not overthinking this. I'm just going to take the Lions outright to win, and I think they cover the 3.
Okay. Well, then we disagree on everything today, so put that one on the board too. You should put them all on the board.
That's a 3rd beer bet, baby. That's 3. Well, we have a lengthy list. This will be fun. I got to keep tabs. So I think we're still even. We're in week 14. We're still even. So we got to do something.
You won last week. I think I was only up by 1. So yeah, I think we're even. I believe.
Yeah. So
the 49ers Eagles.
Okay, I don't have any like big game notes or anything for these other ones, but I did want to briefly talk about the Bucs and the Falcons. The Falcons have to hold on to this if they want to stay in that 4 seed as the NFC South leader. Saints are right behind them, but Bucs won against the Panthers. Atlanta has a little bit of an advantage, but I think that the Falcons cover. And so this leads me into my next segment. I'm going to start something new here. I have Scarlett's best bets. So Falcons -2.5 is one of Scarlett's best bets. It actually thinks it should be priced at 4.5, a little above 4.5, right around 5 actually. So I think the Falcons win outright against the Bucs at home in the Mercedes-Benz Dome.
I don't disagree or agree. I don't.
Okay. That's what I was waiting for. I was chime in.
I don't have anything specific either way. Both teams are middle of the pack.
And I don't know why I'm doing this because we always talk. The model has a Colts problem, but I'm putting it in the column as one of Scarlett's best bets. They go to Cincinnati. They travel all the way to Cincinnati. We haven't seen Cincinnati play tonight, so this could either be really bad or really good, depending on the outcome of tonight's game for the Bengals. But Colts -2.5, I think, is priced incorrectly. My model has Colts winning by almost near a touchdown. The Bengals defense is atrocious right now. And with them not having Joe Burrow, not having the ability to keep up with teams, I don't think this one will be a 3-point game by any means, even though it is in Cincy. So I like the Colts 2.5. And then already talked about this game, but Cowboys 3.5. Scarlett loves the Cowboys. It's absurd.
Nice.
It's absurd. So it's going to be a fun one, but I just wanted to do that little column, start something new, because we had these projections. All of them are hitting at 60%, but there's some that you can really take out and we take advantage of. So wanted to drop that there. Let's finish off really quick, Brendan. I got a couple games for you that are of importance, and I'm going to drop the spread. Let me know who you think covers, okay? Jaguars go to Cleveland, play the Browns, led by Joe Flacco. Jaguars haven't played yet. It's Monday night. They're about to play, but we haven't seen them play. Jaguars plus 1.5, or excuse me, minus 2.5, or Browns plus 2.5.
Jags.
Okay.
I think the Browns and the Steelers will sputter out of the playoffs, so that's how it's going to start.
Okay. Here's a fun one. Ravens at home versus the Rams. You have 7 and the hook. Do you think they can clear that touchdown, or do you think Rams can keep it 7 or less?
I think the Ravens stay hot.
I do too. I really want to take the Rams here, but I think they do. I kind of agree with you. The projection.
The Rams have been one of the most frustrating teams for me, picking like sides the whole season. So
right.
You never know that, but I think the Ravens will stay hot.
Yeah, the projections do have it as like a 6-point game. So
they're coming off a bye too.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. This one is interesting because it's such a big spread. Titans plus 14 against Miami Dolphins in Miami.
On Monday night? Plus 14.
Correct. Yeah, projections have this around 13.5. So same thing. Nothing different.
Well, seeing how teams can pass against the Titans, I'll take the 14 for the
I know.
Dolphins.
You got to take Miami in prime time. They're playing too well right now. Okay. Divisional game. Saints at home versus the Panthers. Saints are 5.5-point home favorites.
I think the Saints will cover that because the Panthers won't score more than 10 points.
Okay. I'll just ride the Panthers because I believe in Bryce Young.
I believe in him too, but he's got nothing around him.
And projections have it as 4.5. So we'll see.
Okay.
Just nothing to it. Okay, Texans go to New York, play the Jets. Jets are plus 6.5 home underdogs. Can the Texans prevail against the tough Jets defense?
Yes, because the Texans defense is coming along very well, and I think
I'm hearing rumors that Zach Wilson might go back to the starter, depending on if he actually accepts it or not.
It doesn't matter. He's a sheep. He's debating on accepting a starting spot in the NFL. Are you kidding me? Yeah. No.
Well, they did him dirty. It's like a girlfriend that like cheats on you.
Was she hot?
It's a starting NFL quarterback position.
The New York Jets? Like, she's still hot. Yeah, I'll go back. Anyway, I think the Texans cover.
Okay. So let's see. Texans, I think they do.
You doing math?
It's my model. The projections have it as 6.4, so it's at 6.5. But I think the Texans can do it. I think it should be 8.5 in my personal opinion. But I'm not an odds maker, so okay. Last one. Vikings go to Vegas. Vegas is favorite or underdogs, 3-point underdogs at home against the Minnesota Vikings. Really some interesting stuff going on because we don't know for certain. I really do think they'll put Josh Dobbs back out there, but it could be Jaron Hall.
Oh,
Do you think the Vikings can cover that 3, or do you think the Raiders prevail?
I'm gonna think the Vikings are gonna cover that 3.
Wow. Okay.
You can't go to Jaren Hall, man. Like, they're not gonna start him next year. So why?
Yeah.
So why? You know? Unless they're tanking, but they're 6-6. So.
Yeah. I want to go Vikings, but I want to go Raiders, but I'll take Vikings. Okay, that works. Well, hey, that wraps it up for NFL Week 13 or Week 14 big game breakdowns and playoff talks and all of that. So, Brendan, we appreciate you being here and talking shop. Guys, we appreciate you listening and watching, whatever. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll be back here next week.